In the rapidly evolving and increasingly suffocating landscape of the year 2026, we must begin this transmission by confronting a profound psychological plague that has infected the very core of human dignity. I am speaking of the desperate, shivering, and almost pathological need for constant external validation and the paralyzing, primal fear of being truly and utterly alone with one's own thoughts. We are currently living within a global, high-tech machine specifically designed to make you feel fundamentally incomplete, fragile, and spiritually broken unless you are constantly connected to the approval of the masses, the shallow validation of the algorithm, and the hollow, shifting opinions of those who do not even know the depths of their own souls. But today, in the 49th chapter of the Timeless Wisdom Archives, we are decoding the most liberating, the most powerful, and yet the most feared state of human existence, the art of needing no one. Christopher is here to reveal a hard, unyielding truth that the society of the year 2026 finds absolutely intolerable and dangerous. True sovereignty begins the exact moment you realize that there is no hero coming to save you, no external partner who can complete your fragmented self, and no social group whose opinion carries more weight than the final verdict of your own private conscience. We have been systematically conditioned to be social beggars, wandering through the corridors of life with our hands outstretched, pleading for a tiny crumb of recognition or a fleeting moment of artificial belonging. But a wise man knows that every single time you need something from someone else, whether it is their praise, their constant attention, or their unspoken permission, you have actually handed them a leash and invited them to lead you. In the year 2026, true independence is not merely about your financial status. It is about the profound emotional self-sufficiency of a man who has discovered that everything he truly needs is already contained within the unshakable fortress of his own spirit. We are learning today that the person who can sit perfectly alone in a silent room and feel like a sovereign king is the only person who can never be manipulated, never be blackmailed, and never be broken by the shifting, chaotic winds of this era. Analyze the geometry of isolation with me with a calm and unblinking eye, and understand that in the year 2026, what the frantic world calls loneliness is actually the greatest and most expensive luxury of the sovereign mind. The machine tries to shame you for your chosen solitude. It attempts to label you as an outsider, a misfit, or a ghost haunting the edges of society, precisely because it cannot control a man who does not seek to belong to its chaotic, noisy, and desperate tribe. But you must realize with absolute clarity that the desperate need to belong is the primary tool used for your total enslavement. When you finally stop seeking a seat at their crowded and toxic table, you finally gain the divine power to build your own kingdom on your own terms. Christopher wants you to understand that being self-sufficient means becoming your own primary source of heat in a world that is growing increasingly cold and indifferent. In the year 2026, the average person has become an emotional parasite, constantly feeding on the energy, the drama, and the attention of others to mask the terrifying hollowness of their own internal void. But the sovereign observer has learned through discipline to cultivate an internal garden so rich, so diverse, and so deep that the outside world becomes merely an optional scenery, not a vital life support system. When you no longer need the world to tell you who you are or what you are worth, you are finally free to become the person you were always meant to be. In the year 2026, the greatest strength is never found in the security of numbers, but in the absolute, terrifying quality of your own company. We are building the internal architecture today where your happiness is not a hostage to someone else's erratic behavior, and your peace is not a victim of the world's cold indifference. In the third and most critical layer of this transmission, we must explore the alchemy of the self-contained soul and how to build an emotional fortress that no one can breach. In the year 2026, the person who needs the least from others is consistently the one who possesses the most tactical and spiritual power in every situation. Think deeply about the immense strategic advantage of a man who cannot be tempted by the promise of popularity, cannot be seduced by the offer of inclusion, and cannot be threatened by the fear of social exclusion. Strategic self-sufficiency is the ultimate shield against the sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques of the year 2026. Christopher is calling you to systematically dismantle the bridges of dependency that you have built out of fear and insecurity over the years. This does not mean you must live as a bitter hermit or a cold misanthrope, but it means you must live as a sovereign who chooses his company from a place of strength rather than a beggar who accepts whatever scraps of attention are thrown his way. When you are truly and deeply self-contained, the nature of your relationships changes fundamentally. They transform from a desperate, frantic search for completion into a conscious, beautiful sharing of your own internal abundance. You no longer go out into the world to get something to fill your soul. You go out into the world to observe, to create, and to leave without being diminished by what you find. In the year 2026, the wise man is a closed, perfect system, an engine that generates its own fuel and a light that shines with consistent intensity regardless of the total darkness surrounding it. Every time you find yourself craving the hollow attention of the crowd, stop and ask your soul, what is missing in me right now that I am trying to fill with the meaningless noise of others? Needing no one is the highest form of spiritual maturity. As we move deeper into the sacred heart of the 49th chapter, we must confront the alchemy of zero expectations as a path to total invulnerability. In the year 2026, most of your psychological suffering and emotional exhaustion comes directly from the silent, invisible contracts you have made with people who never even agreed to them, the deep-seated expectations that they will understand your vision, support your journey, or remain loyal to your cause. But when you finally embrace the power of needing no one, you tear up those toxic contracts and reclaim your absolute peace of mind. When you expect nothing from the year 2026, everything that happens to come your way is treated as a bonus, and nothing that leaves your life can ever be counted as a loss. This is the state of true invulnerability. You simply cannot be disappointed or crushed by a world that you no longer rely on for your fundamental sense of worth or identity. Christopher wants you to understand that your emotional independence is your most valuable and non-negotiable asset in an era of total institutional and social instability. While the masses are falling apart and descending into madness because their social structures are crumbling and their digital idols are failing them, you will remain standing, unshakable, unbothered, and perfectly at home within the silence of your own skin. In the year 2026, the man who is truly comfortable in his own silence is infinitely more powerful than the man who commands a vast army of followers, for the man with followers is always and forever a slave to their fickle expectations, while the man who is alone is the undisputed master of his own destiny. Your self-sufficiency is the high stone wall that keeps the chaos of this desperate era from ever reaching the sanctuary of your heart. We are now sealing this 49th chapter of the Timeless Wisdom Archives with a final, unyielding, and sovereign decree for the year 2026. Your existence is an island of perfect order in a vast, screaming sea of chaos, and you are the only one on this earth with the divine right to rule its shores and command its tides. Do not waste your precious time looking to the horizon for a ship to rescue you from your solitude. Instead, learn to love the solid soil beneath your feet and the immense strength within your own two hands. Do not apologize to anyone for your fierce self-reliance, and do not feel even a flicker of guilt for the necessary distances you create to protect your internal peace. As you walk through the needy, desperate, and pathologically clingy atmosphere of the year 2026, let your self-sufficiency be your silent, invisible crown. You do not need their digital likes to exist, you do not need their hollow validation to be worthy, and you certainly do not need their permission to achieve greatness. While the rest of the world is frantically searching for a mirror to tell them that they still exist, you will be the sun that creates its own light from within. While they are searching for a tribe to hide their deepest fears, you will be the mountain that stands perfectly alone and magnificent in the middle of the storm. This is Christopher, speaking from the silent heart of the eternal archives, reminding you that the greatest and most permanent victory you will ever win is the victory of not needing anything from anyone. The heavy gates of the 49th chapter are now officially closed, and your independence is now an unyielding law of nature. Go forth and be the source, the sun, and the absolute sovereign of your own life. Stay independent of the crowd's madness. Stay detached from the parasitic need for approval. Stay eternally wise in a world that is starving for the strength of a man who has the courage to stand alone. Christopher, out.